Before we begin, I thought it would be fun if everyone lets me know in the comments where they're watching this video from. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's start today's episode. You've likely come across viral videos of a deep-sea anglerfish making waves on social media. At first glance, the black sea devil anglerfish appears to be something straight out of a nightmare, a creature that could easily evoke fear in anyone. It's no wonder it served as inspiration for one of the most unsettling scenes in the animated film Finding Nemo. With its gaping mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth, a glowing bioluminescent lure extending from its head, and unblinking eyes, it's a truly eerie sight. In an unexpected turn, the sea devil has recently won over hearts across social media. Typically found at depths ranging from 200 to 2,000 meters, this elusive fish made a rare and unfortunate ascent to the surface. A team of researchers off the coast of Tenerife in the Canary Islands observed it for several hours, but sadly, the fish was already injured and did not survive. Despite its tragic fate, its brief appearance took on a deeper meaning, with many onlookers transforming its final moments into an almost legendary tale. However, the haunting images circulating online don't reveal the full truth. This deep-sea creature was only about 2 inches long. Social media enthusiasts have paid tribute to the sea devil in countless creative ways, through ballads, heartfelt poetry, intricate fan art, and even tattoos. Many have shared emotional dedications, with some even suggesting that Pixar should turn its journey into a feature film. But the biggest question remains: why did the sea devil stray so far from its natural habitat? Scientists don't have a definitive answer. They theorize that illness, an unusual ocean current, or an environmental disturbance may have forced it upward. However, they have ruled out climate change as a cause and dismissed speculation that it signals an impending apocalypse. This event, however, is not an isolated case. In recent years, more deep-sea creatures have been appearing at the surface, some drifting eerily in the waves, others washing up on unfamiliar shores. In 2021, a dead anglerfish was found on an Oregon beach, marking the first recorded sighting of its kind. That same year, a giant squid, usually hidden in the deep abyss, was spotted alive near Japan's coastline. While scientists continue to reject any supernatural interpretations, whispers of ancient prophecies and ominous warnings from the sea have begun to spread. The ocean has always been a realm of mystery, its vast depths concealing creatures we have yet to fully understand. For centuries, tales of colossal sea monsters, slumbering deities, and cosmic horrors lurking beneath the waves have been passed down. The recent appearance of the anglerfish at the surface has reignited ancient fears. What else might be emerging from the abyss? Could these deep-sea creatures be escaping something even more terrifying that lies below? Oceanographers and marine biologists have documented unusual tremors deep within the ocean's trenches, where crushing pressure and eternal darkness prevail. The Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the world's oceans, has been experiencing unexplained disturbances. Sonar scans have picked up strange movements, immense, shifting shadows that do not correspond to any known marine species. Some experts propose the existence of an undiscovered predator, something even larger than the colossal squid. Others point to geothermal activity, suggesting that an underwater volcanic eruption may be disrupting the fragile deep-sea ecosystem. But a handful of voices, often dismissed as conspiracy theorists, believe that something is awakening. Throughout history, sailors and fishermen have reported encounters with creatures that defy explanation. Legends of the Leviathan, the Kraken, and other eldritch horrors have long hinted at forces beyond human comprehension. Could the anglerfish's sudden rise to the surface be more than a coincidence? Perhaps it is not just a stray wanderer, but a warning, a message from the depths that something ancient and unseen is beginning to stir. The deep sea has long remained Earth's last unexplored frontier, an alien world hidden within our own. For centuries, humanity has overlooked its vast, silent darkness, convinced that nothing could emerge from its depths. Yet, as the anglerfish drifted to the surface, its bioluminescent lure flickering faintly in the sunlight, it seemed to bear a silent warning, one we may not truly understand until it is far too late. What if something is coming? What if something is already here? As scientists continue to debate the potential causes behind these unusual events, reports persist of eerie sounds echoing from the depths. In 1997, researchers captured the bloop, a powerful, ultra-low-frequency noise originating in the Pacific Ocean. Though initially attributed to a massive icequake, some still believe it was something else, something alive. More recently, sonar recordings from deep-sea monitoring stations have detected unidentified clicking and moaning sounds, almost as if something vast and unknown were calling out from the abyss. Then there are the disappearances, fishing boats found drifting aimlessly, their crews vanished without a trace. Shipwrecks discovered on the ocean floor with no clear explanation for their destruction. Are these merely unrelated maritime tragedies? Or could they be tied to the unseen forces that seem to be awakening beneath the waves? Across ancient texts from various cultures, references to slumbering deities beneath the ocean appear with eerie consistency. From Lovecraftian horrors resembling Cthulhu to Japan's Zu, a ghostly sea spirit said to capsize ships, the notion of monstrous beings lurking beneath the waves has endured for centuries. Even Plato's account of Atlantis speaks of an advanced civilization swallowed by the sea, leaving behind only whispers of its existence. If the anglerfish's emergence is indeed a warning, then what is it warning us about? Perhaps the disturbances deep beneath the ocean floor are not merely tectonic shifts, but the stirrings of something long dismissed as legend. Something vast, something waiting. Perhaps humanity has spent too much time looking to the stars in search of extraterrestrial life, all while the real unknown has been lurking beneath us this entire time. Something is rising. The question is, are we ready to face it? If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries and enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to stay updated on all our latest content. Moving on to the next mystery. Deep within the thick jungles of Guyana, a haunting legend has endured for generations. Whispered among locals is the tale of a mysterious, otherworldly entity known as the Water Mama. Said to inhabit the region's rivers and lakes, this enigmatic being has been linked to numerous unexplained disappearances. Unlike the captivating mermaids of folklore in other cultures, the Water Mama is feared rather than revered. According to those who claim to have encountered it, the creature has an unervingly pale complexion, an eerie contrast to the dark waters where it resides. Some describe it as a humanoid figure with long, flowing hair and eyes that seem to glow beneath the water's surface. Others say its face appears almost human, but something about its expression is disturbingly inhuman. Many locals insist that those who wander too close to the water's edge risk being snatched, never to be seen again. Throughout history, countless individuals have vanished near the waters where the Water Mama is said to reside. Families living near these rivers and lakes have passed down warnings through generations, instructing children never to wade too deep and to avoid walking alone near the shore. Despite these precautions, disappearances continue to occur, further fueling belief in the existence of the Water Mama. Witnesses recount stories of people suddenly being dragged beneath the water, their terrified screams echoing before being silenced forever. One of the most chilling aspects of the Water Mama legend is the consistency of the descriptions given by those who have seen it. Unlike other mythical creatures whose appearance changes over time and varies by region, the Water Mama has been reported for centuries with eerily similar details. Fishermen tell tales of seeing its pale figure watching them from beneath the surface, only to vanish when they look too closely. Others claim to have seen it beckoning them toward the water as if luring them into its domain. Those who have survived an encounter with the Water Mama often describe a feeling of being hypnotized, unable to resist its call. Some recount being pulled under by an invisible force, only managing to break free at the last possible moment. These survivors are left shaken, convinced that they have narrowly escaped the fate of so many before them. Skeptics argue that these disappearances can be attributed to natural dangers of the jungle, strong currents, hidden sinkholes, and dangerous wildlife. However, the locals who have lived in these areas for generations dismiss such explanations. The locals know the land intimately, along with its dangers, and they are convinced that something unnatural dwells within the waters. If the Water Mama were nothing more than a myth, why have so many people vanished without a trace? Despite modern advancements in science and technology, the legend persists, passed down through generations with the same unwavering conviction. Stories continue to circulate, urging travelers to respect the waters and heed the wisdom of their ancestors. Those who dismiss the warnings, who mock the tales and venture too close, often find themselves woven into the legend. Another name whispered in hushed, fearful tones, another soul lost to the depths. The jungles of Guyana remain one of the last untamed frontiers on Earth, a place where nature's mysteries still hold dominion. Whether the water mama is an undiscovered creature, a supernatural force, or something beyond human comprehension, one truth remains. Those who ignore its presence do so at their own risk. Moving on to the next mystery. Across the vastness of space, the moon has long fascinated humanity. Among its many mysteries, the discovery of an unusual tower-like structure on the far side of the moon by a Soviet spacecraft remains particularly intriguing. In July 1965, the Soviet mission Zond 3 set out on a groundbreaking journey, becoming the first to capture images of the moon's hidden hemisphere. The spacecraft successfully transmitted photographs, unveiling previously unseen lunar landscapes. However, one image stood out, a striking tower-like formation rising from the moon's surface. The structure captured by Zond 3 continues to fuel speculation and debate. The photograph revealed a towering formation that appeared to rise distinctly from the lunar terrain. Its unique shape and seemingly deliberate structure have sparked curiosity, giving rise to numerous theories regarding its origin and purpose. The mysterious tower on the moon's far side has been the subject of much discussion. Notably, Zond 3 was originally intended for a Mars mission, with photographing the moon's far side being only a secondary objective. Scientists equipped the S-23 with extremely useful technologies, equipping the spacecraft with 2 cameras, infrared and ultraviolet spectrometers, a magnetometer, a cosmic ray detector, a solar particle detector, and a meteoroid detector. Zond 3 made its way to the moon 33 hours after being launched on July 18, 1965. Just as it passed the far side of the moon, its cameras started exploring the far side of Earth's satellite, focusing on the 30% that its predecessor, Luna 3, had missed, taking one picture every 2 minutes and 15 seconds for a total period of 1 hour and 8 minutes. After a period of 9 days from taking the images, S-23 transmitted these images back to the Soviet operators on Earth. These images were the first of their kind and helped scientists discover several geological formations present on the far side of the moon. However, one of these images particularly intrigued the researchers and those interested in the unknown. On the far side of the moon, a puzzling tower-like structure is visible in one of the images taken. The structure stands out as there is no other similar formation in its vicinity. The image is believed by researchers to be compelling proof for their theory of possible advanced structures on Earth's moon. As of right now, very little information has been released about the structure. Interestingly, this is not the first time mysterious monoliths have been discovered within our solar system, leading some researchers to suggest they could be evidence of advanced life. Others propose natural explanations, theorizing that such formations may result from geological activity or remnants of impact craters. Despite the fascination surrounding the structure, many scientists remain skeptical. They argue that the tower-like appearance could be an optical illusion caused by lighting conditions, shadows, or pixelation in the Zond 3 images. To gain a clearer understanding of the lunar landscape, they stress the importance of further exploration and more comprehensive data. The discovery of this tower-like structure on the moon's far side has only intensified the pursuit of knowledge about our celestial neighbor. With ongoing advancements in space exploration, future missions aim to uncover more of the moon's hidden secrets. Equipped with cutting-edge technology and instruments, these missions have the potential to provide clearer observations and deeper insights into the mysteries of the lunar surface. Moving on to the next mystery. Researchers have recently uncovered a long-lost section of a biblical manuscript that remained hidden for nearly 1,500 years since its original composition. This missing portion represents one of the oldest known versions of the Gospels, as detailed in a recent publication in the journal New Testament Studies. Grigory Kessel, a researcher from the Austrian Academy of Sciences, used ultraviolet photography to detect a hidden chapter beneath 2 layers of text. According to Dr. Kessel, until recently, only 2 manuscripts containing the ancient Syriac translation of the Gospels were known, one housed in the British Library in London and the other at St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai. Scholars have identified the newly discovered text as a passage from Matthew 12 in the Bible, originally translated nearly 1,800 years ago as part of the early Syriac Gospel translations. The only remaining document that confirms the old Syriac version is the fragment, which they claimed was a remarkable entrance to the early stage of the transmission of Gospels in history. This was stated by the experts who are aware of the intricacies of the subject matter. The provided text also presents new perspectives about variances in data included in translated materials. In the Syriac translation of Matthew chapter 12 verse 1, it is stated that the disciples of Jesus picked the heads of grain and rubbed them in their hands before eating them. This is different from the original Greek version, which only states that they picked the heads of grain and ate them. According to the study, there is certainty that the Gospel book was created prior to the 6th century in regards to its dating. The authors said that although the available number of manuscripts from that time is limited, by comparing them with the dated Syriac manuscripts, we can estimate that it was most likely written during the first half of the 6th century. Around 1,300 years ago, parchment was scarce in some regions, and as a result, people often reused pages by erasing the earlier biblical text. This incredible discovery shows us that there's still much to learn about religion, and that as technology moves forward, more and more of these discoveries will come to light. The Vatican's apostolic archives hold an immense wealth of history and hidden knowledge. Formerly known as the Vatican Secret Archives, this vast collection contains historical documents, letters, and records detailing the Catholic Church's history and its interactions with the world. Spanning over 1,000 years, the apostolic archives offer a rare glimpse into the Church's influence on global events and the lives of countless individuals. While the origins of these archives date back to the early days of the Catholic Church, their formal establishment is credited to Pope Paul V in the early 17th century. Initially, the archives functioned as the private collection of the popes, safeguarding their correspondences, official decrees, and administrative records. Located within Vatican City, the apostolic archives extend across more than 85 kilometers of shelving and contain millions of documents, including manuscripts, codices, and parchments. The oldest document in the collection dates back to the 8th century, while the most recent records reach into the early 20th century. These archives hold an invaluable trove of historical documents that shed light on the Church's interactions with governments, monarchs, and religious institutions. Among the most significant records are papal bulls, such as the 1493 Intercetera, which divided the New World between Spain and Portugal, and the 1521 decree excommunicating Martin Luther, an event that played a pivotal role in the Protestant Reformation. Other notable documents include correspondence between popes and prominent historical figures, such as letters exchanged between Pope Innocent III and England's King John during the negotiations that led to the Magna Carta in December 15. The archives also contain trial records from the Inquisition, as well as documents related to the Church's stance on scientific discoveries, such as the case against Galileo Galilei. Historically, the apostolic archives were shrouded in secrecy and largely inaccessible to the public. However, in the 19th and 20th centuries, the Vatican gradually opened the archives to qualified scholars and researchers. In 2019, Pope Francis changed the name from the Vatican Secret Archives to the Vatican Apostolic Archives to dispel the notion of secrecy and emphasize the archive's service to the Church and humanity. Despite the increased access, some controversies persist. Critics argue that the Vatican still exercises excessive control over the archives and restricts access to certain documents, particularly those related to the Church's role in the Holocaust and other contentious historical events. The Vatican maintains that it is committed to transparency and has opened a significant portion of its Holocaust-era documents for research. The Apostolic Archives face numerous challenges, including the preservation of fragile and ancient documents and the need to catalog and digitize the vast collection. In recent years, The Vatican has undertaken significant efforts to preserve and restore its historical treasures using state-of-the-art technology. Collaborative projects with various institutions have also been launched to digitize the documents and make them more accessible to researchers around the world. Unraveling the secrets of the Vatican's Apostolic Archives. The Vatican's Apostolic Archives also contain an extensive collection of trial transcripts and other documents related to the Inquisition, a series of institutions within the Catholic Church that aim to combat heresy and maintain doctrinal purity. Among these records are the trial transcripts of the Knights Templar, a powerful military order accused of heresy and disbanded by Pope Clement V in the early 14th century. These documents offer a detailed account of the charges against the order, the testimonies of its members, and the political machinations that led to the order's demise. The Apostolic Archives also house a section known as the Secretum, which contains highly sensitive documents that remain off-limits to researchers. The secrecy surrounding its contents has sparked widespread speculation about the hidden information it may hold. While the Vatican has never disclosed a complete inventory of the Secretum, it is believed to include materials related to espionage, internal affairs, and other confidential matters. Beyond these restricted documents, the Apostolic Archives serve as a vast repository of historical records that provide profound insights into the Catholic Church's role in shaping global events and its interactions with influential historical figures. As more documents become accessible, the long-held mysteries within the archives continue to unfold, offering scholars invaluable perspectives on the Church's history and its impact on the world. Despite ongoing debates over transparency and restricted access to sensitive materials, the Apostolic Archives remain an essential resource for historians and researchers striving to understand the complexities of the Church's past. Moving on to the next mystery. Ceres, the largest asteroid in the main belt between Mars and Jupiter, was first discovered in 1801 by Giuseppe Piazzi. Initially, it was classified as a planet. However, this changed when astronomers identified other large objects in the same region. Realizing they were observing a new category of celestial bodies, they introduced the term asteroid, meaning star-like, to describe them. By the 1860s, it was widely recognized that these large asteroids were fundamentally different from planets, though no formal definition of a planet had been established. During the 2006 debate over Pluto's classification, astronomers discussed the specific criteria an object must meet to be considered a planet. One key requirement stated that a planet must clear its orbit of other debris. Without this condition, Ceres would be recognized today as the fifth planet from the Sun. Obviously, due to the asteroid belt it lies within, Ceres is not classified as a planet, but a dwarf planet and an asteroid simultaneously. Now, whilst the controversy surrounding Ceres classification is certainly interesting, that's not what we're going to discuss today. Ceres itself is home to something much more fascinating. Since early 2015, NASA's Dawn spacecraft has orbited the icy world of Ceres, examining its surface closely. It wasn't until quite a few months had passed that the Dawn would observe something so fascinating, but so bizarre at the same time. It was a 13,000-foot-tall mound closely resembling what we know as a volcano. Scientists named it Ahana Mons. In 2016, it was confirmed that Ahana Mons was indeed a volcano, but not your average volcano, a cryovolcano. A cryovolcano is, as you can imagine, a volcano, but with a twist. Instead of releasing molten rock or lava like the volcanoes we have on Earth, a cryovolcano erupts water, methane, or ammonia. The water and other gases released often turn into a solid form once exposed to the low temperature surrounding the volcano. Hence, the more colloquial name ice volcanoes. These eruptions are referred to as cryomagma or cryolava. During eruption, they are liquid, but are also released as a vapor. Cryovolcanoes are thought to be able to form on moons and asteroids that used to have an abundance of water. The reason Ahana Mons erupts water and other substances rather than magma is simple. The temperatures on Ceres are simply too cold to melt rock, but warm enough that ice can melt. Ahana Mons was only able to be understood more when scientists examined mineral salt, likely the product of a cryovolcanic eruption. Inside the Achater crater found it had origins in Ahana Mons. which in turn relates both fascinating natural structures. The Acator crater is 57 miles across and as deep as Ahana Mons is high. The massive impact that created the giant Acator crater on Ceres likely set everything in motion, triggering later cryovolcanic activity, according to Andreas Nat-Hughes, the lead investigator for the framing camera at the Max Planck Institute. Following this event, the surrounding rock shifted and rose toward the surface. The resulting change in pressure allowed water and dissolved gases to escape, eventually leading to the formation of a cryovolcano. Some researchers also suggest that rather than a single major event, multiple smaller explosions across the dwarf planet may have driven its cryovolcanism. However, cryovolcanism is not unique to Ceres. It has also been observed on Saturn's moon Enceladus, Jupiter's moon Europa, and Neptune's largest moon, Triton. Cryovolcanoes provide a fascinating glimpse into the mysteries of the universe, revealing phenomena that once seemed unimaginable. Moving on to the next mystery. United States soldiers find $500 million worth of gold bars and $600 million in cash in Iraq, but no one knows what happened to it. American troops, operating in a volatile region, stopped a convoy of vehicles for a routine inspection. Among the vehicles was a truck that, upon closer examination, was found to be carrying a cargo that stunned the soldiers. Stacked high in the truck's cargo bay were gold bars, each one gleaming in the harsh desert sun. The gold was quickly estimated to be worth over $500 million, a fortune that raised immediate suspicions about its origins and intended destination. The Central Command reported that soldiers discovered the bars during a routine traffic control examination of a Mercedes truck near the border. According to the command statement, the soldiers took 2 individuals into custody who were in the truck. Shortly after, United States troops discovered over $600 million in U.S. currency inside boxes located near the royal complexes in Baghdad. Despite the high value of the gold and the implications of its discovery, what happened next is where the mystery deepens. According to some reports, the gold was transported to a secure location by the American military, where it was to be cataloged, documented, and eventually turned over to the appropriate authorities, whether the Iraqi government, the U.S. Treasury, or another designated entity. However, as time went on, the trail of the gold seemed to vanish. Official records of the gold seizure and subsequent handling are either incomplete or non-existent. Attempts to trace the gold have been met with silence or vague responses from those in positions of authority. The lack of transparency has led to widespread speculation about the gold's ultimate fate. The story of the seized gold bars and their disappearance has become emblematic of the broader uncertainties and complexities of the conflict that was happening during this time. In a conflict marked by shifting alliances, unclear objectives, and constant threats, the fate of the gold serves as a reminder of how easily things can slip through the cracks in such an environment. The incident also highlights the challenges of accountability and transparency during these conflicts. Moving on to the next mystery. In 1991, a peculiar crop circle emerged in a field in Grassdorf, Germany, drawing the attention of both researchers and the public. The formation featured an intricate design, resembling many of the enigmatic crop circles reported worldwide. What made this case particularly remarkable, however, was the discovery hidden beneath the soil. Unlike typical crop circles, which leave behind only flattened crops and speculation, this one revealed something far more concrete. Eager to uncover its origins, researchers used metal detectors to scan the site for anomalies beneath the ground. To their astonishment, the devices detected strong and unexplained signals at various points within the formation. Intrigued by these unusual readings, they decided to excavate the areas where the signals were strongest. What they discovered defied conventional explanation: 3 metallic plates buried beneath the crop circle. The 3 plates, made of silver, gold, and bronze, weighed a total of 7 kilograms. Upon further analysis, it was determined that the purity of these metals was nearly 100%, an unusual characteristic for ancient artifacts. Even more astonishing was the fact that the designs engraved on the plates perfectly matched the crop circle formation found above them. This striking coincidence led to speculation that the plates were somehow linked to the crop circle, as if the formation had been placed above them as a form of marker or message. Experts attempted to determine the age of the plates, and estimates suggested they could be several thousand years old. However, their true origins and purpose remain unknown. Some theorists speculated that they were ancient relics of an advanced civilization, while others suggested extraterrestrial involvement, pointing to the strange and precise nature of the crop circle. The idea that the plates could have been buried intentionally long ago only to be revealed by a crop formation centuries later added to the mystery. Despite the significance of the discovery, the story of the Grasdorf crop circle and the buried plates quickly faded from public attention. There were no significant follow-ups in mainstream media, leading some to believe that the story was intentionally suppressed. Researchers speculate that the discovery may have been covered up because it challenged established historical narratives or posed too many unanswered questions. To this day, the Grasdorf incident remains shrouded in mystery. The crop circle, the buried plates, and their puzzling connections suggest an event that defies conventional understanding. Whether the plates were left behind by an ancient civilization, extraterrestrial visitors, or were part of a forgotten ritual remains uncertain. What is undeniable, however, is that the Grasdorf crop circle remains one of the most intriguing yet least known mysteries of modern times. Moving on to the next mystery. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has taken over the case of missing Washington teenager Shelby Lynn Dwyer, whose sudden disappearance has drawn national attention. Shelby was reported missing by her family last year after she failed to return from a trip to Mexico. Despite extensive efforts, the search for Shelby has now entered its 14th month, leaving her family in distress and uncertainty. Residing in Washington, her family promptly alerted local authorities in March 2023 when she went missing. At 17 years old, Shelby had informed her family of her plans to travel to Mexico with a friend. However, when she failed to maintain regular communication and eventually cut off all contact, her family grew increasingly alarmed and turned to law enforcement for help. Due to the complex and international nature of the case, the FBI has now taken the lead in the investigation. Special Agent Steve Viano of the FBI Seattle office delivered a report on the case, disclosing that the inquiry has successfully tracked Shelby's activities to Tijuana, where she is believed to have traveled by car. At the time of Shelby's disappearance, the department had released a travel advice cautioning about the dangers in the specific area where she was last seen. This has intensified fears among investigators and her family regarding her safety. The FBI is currently soliciting any information that may facilitate the retrieval of Shelby. A reward of up to $5,000 is being offered for information that leads to her discovery. If individuals possess any information pertaining to the case of Shelby Lynn Dwyer, they are urged to reach out to their local FBI office, the nearest American embassy or consulate, or submit tips online. During the ongoing investigation, Shelby's family and law enforcement authorities are appealing to anyone who has information on her location to step forward with the aim of safely reuniting her with her family. Moving on to the next mystery. The mystery of Juan Cerezo Ortiz. Juan Ortiz, age 25, went missing in Malaga on July 27, 2004. He was commuting from his residence to the carpentry workshop that he managed. Having been married for just a month, he was regarded as a diligent worker by his family, who also attested that he had no enemies. Upon departing from his residence, he informed his spouse, Raquel, of his intention to maybe spend the night in the carpenter workshop in order to complete some unfinished tasks. The final indication we possess regarding his whereabouts is the telephone conversation he had with his spouse, notifying her of his arrival at his workplace. He refrained from entering the shop, and his car remains undiscovered. According to his relatives, he established the carpenter shop several years ago, and it has been thriving. However, recently, he appeared to be rather melancholic. At the moment of his disappearance, one was in a state of anticipation as he was awaiting the receipt of payment for furniture that he had recently sold. One of the locations that was investigated was the Sierra de Cazola, a spot that he frequently went to. Flyers featuring his portrait and description were disseminated across various sections of the natural park, yielding no outcomes. The statement of the waitress at a restaurant in Adra, who claimed to have seen Cerezo having lunch there a few days after his disappearance, did not provide any useful information. Following a 2-month period of his absence, the family had a glimmer of optimism, only to be ultimately let down by the unethical actions of an opportunist. Juan Bautista's brother-in-law started receiving phone calls from an individual who claimed to have knowledge of Juan Bautista's whereabouts and assured that he was in good condition. During the first interaction, a demand for a sum of $15,000 was made in return for additional information. However, it was later revealed that the provided account number did not exist. Shortly after, additional calls were received from the same individual, but this time with a distinctly threatening tone. He demanded that Juan Bautista's wife personally deliver the money. Despite the caller's attempts to conceal his identity by changing his phone number, the diligent efforts of the Guardia Civil led to his identification. The suspect was a 22-year-old resident of Valles Malaga, who later claimed that the entire incident was meant as a prank. He now faces charges of falsifying a crime, making threats, and coercion. As of now, Juan's case remains unresolved. Moving on to the next mystery. Carlina Renee White was born on July 16, 1987, in New York City to Joy White and Carl Tyson. Just 19 days later, on August 4th, her parents took her to the hospital due to a fever. While there, a woman dressed as a nurse approached them, offering reassurance. However, she was not a hospital employee. Her name wasn't Petway, and she had carefully planned to pose as a nurse in order to abduct a baby. Having suffered multiple miscarriages, Petway was devastated to learn that she could no longer conceive. In the early hours of August 4th, at around 2:30 a.m., she removed Carlina's foreline and kidnapped her. Although the hospital had security cameras, they were not functioning at the time. This meant that the only description of the abductor came from Carlina's parents. A security guard later recalled seeing a woman matching the description leaving the hospital around 3:30 a.m. While no baby was visible, authorities believed Carlina may have been concealed. The abduction of Carlina White became known as the very first known infant abduction from a New York hospital. Carlina was raised as Nedra Nady Nance by Petway in Bridgeport, Connecticut. This was about 45 miles from where her parents lived. Carlina attended Thomas Hooker School and graduated from Warren Harding High School. Petway and Carlina later moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Carlina did grow suspicious in her teens that Petway was not her biological mother because she was not able to provide a birth certificate. In 2005, Carlina was pregnant. She asked Petway to give her the birth certificate so that she could apply for health insurance. Petway then obtained a forged Connecticut birth certificate. When Carlina attempted to use it, the officials told her that it was a forged document. When confronted by Carlina, Petway finally confessed that she was not her biological mother. Petway did not tell the entire truth, however. She told Carlina that she had been abandoned by a drug addict. When Carlina was 23 years old, she used websites such as the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There, she found images of the kidnapped Carlina White that resembled infant photos of herself as Nedra and those of her daughter, Simone. Carlina decided to call the center's hotline and was able to get into contact with her birth family. In January of 2011, DNA tests confirmed that she was the missing Carlina White. After the confirmation that Nedra Nance was really Carlina White, the Federal Bureau of Investigation began a search for Petway. Petway turned herself into the FBI office at Bridgeport on the morning of January 23, 2011. Petway confessed and told federal investigators that she kidnapped Carlina after enduring several miscarriages because of the stress over whether she would ever be able to be a parent. On July 30, 2012, 50-year-old Petway was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The judge condemned her actions as selfish, stating that she had subjected Carlina's parents to their worst nightmare. Petway served her sentence at the Federal Correctional Institution in Aliceville, Alabama, until her release on April 14, 2021. Carlina's reunion with her biological parents was far from smooth. Tensions arose over financial matters, her desire to continue using the name Nedy, and the deep emotional bond she still had with Petway. However, according to the most recent public updates, it appears that Carlina has since reconciled with her parents, and they are now on good terms. Moving on to the next mystery. On February 16, 1986, hikers on the Pacific Crest Trail came across a grizzly bear near the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation. As they approached, they discovered the partially decomposed body of a woman at the edge of an encampment. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office quickly arrived to begin their investigation. Shortly after, authorities received a call that would drastically change the case. A second body, belonging to a man in a similar state of decomposition, was found 14 kilometers away from the female victim. Both victims had been buried under heavy jackets and multiple layers of clothing. Investigators realized that before they could track down the killer, they first needed to identify the bodies due to their striking similarities. However, law enforcement has withheld significant details about these cases. To protect the integrity of the investigation, the cause of death for the male victim has never been disclosed. The lack of information made it especially challenging for detectives to move forward in either case. The evidence was scant, and what little the San Diego County Sheriff's Office did have was withheld from the press. The media briefly covered Jane Doe's murder before attention faded. The female victim's case would remain unresolved for decades despite the San Diego County Sheriff's Office knowing that a family was out there searching for their loved one. That is, until 2023, when the office started utilizing genetic genealogy. The hair of Jane Doe was submitted for analysis on websites such as 23andMe and GEDmatch. Together with census data and other publicly available information, detectives were able to use this DNA research to build family trees and find relatives. Finding the missing connection was the only task left to the investigators after determining the victim's family tree. Law authorities swiftly recognized the Jane Doe as Claudette Jean Zabolski Powers when she submitted her DNA. When Claudette Jean was brutally murdered, she would have been 24 years old. Detectives put together her life before to her abduction in the early 1980s. She was married and had 2 children. She moved to Washington with her spouse after they sold their Michigan house. After Claudette filed for divorce in 1983, she and her 2 girls were able to purchase a home in San Diego County. But tragedy struck the Powers family in 1984 when her father passed away. When her father passed away, Claudette didn't handle it well. She felt lost after her father passed away because she loved him so much. Claudette was last seen or heard from in September 1984 at her father's funeral. After that, she seemed to vanish without a trace. Her family never stopped searching for her, and when their efforts led nowhere, her siblings even hired a private investigator to help track her down. Unfortunately, their search yielded no results. With no answers, all they could do was hold on to hope that she would one day return home. For years, her family remained unaware that she had passed away, as she was never officially reported missing. Now that her identity has been confirmed, the investigation is far from over. Authorities are working to reconstruct Claudette's life between September 1984 and September 1986, hoping to uncover what happened during that time. Anyone with information or who may have known Claudette is urged to come forward. There have been unconfirmed reports that she may have worked as a waitress in Escondido. Her family is having a very hard time. In a statement, her sister Laura Fries informed the reporters, "If you know of my sister, you have seen her, you have worked with her." That would have been in the early 1980s, early 1990s, or early 1985 when she went missing. Tell the San Diego Sheriff's Department all you know about her, please. The events are known to someone. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office has not released the cause of death for either Claudette or John Doe. The investigation is still underway. According to their statements, Claudette passed away violently, and they are looking for a male suspect. Besides, they want to know who killed the guy. They said that they were both dressed in thermals and other camping-appropriate clothing, and that the man was roughly Claudette's age, in his mid-20s. It took almost 2 weeks for them to both pass away before their bodies were found. Moving on to the next mystery. Joni Harper, a 39-year-old resident of Bakersfield, California, worked for the Bakersfield School District while also officiating Division I basketball. On July 8, 2003, her friend Kelsey Spann grew concerned after not hearing from Joni for 3 days. Worried, Kelsey decided to check on Joni and her 3 children, only to walk into a horrifying scene in Joni's bedroom. Inside, Joni, her mother Ernestine, and her 3 children had all been killed. Joni's sons, Marquez and Marshall, were just 4 years old and 6 weeks old, respectively, while her daughter, Lindsay, was only 2. Ernestine, a 70-year-old civil rights activist and mother of 5, was also among the victims. Investigators found no signs of forced entry, no missing valuables, and no reports from neighbors of anything unusual. All the police could go on was this. A member of the family was absent. Vincent, Joni Harper's estranged husband, was not in sight. At Bakersfield, California's John C. Freeman Elementary School, Vincent served as vice principal. In 2000, he wed Joni, but their marriage was dissolved in 2001 due to Vincent's adultery. Then, when Joni became pregnant with their third child in January 2003, they got married again. The house was vacant when Vincent left in April 2003. Vincent was located by police quite shortly. When the police told him what had occurred to his family, he appeared to be inconsolable. Vincent explains to investigator Jeff Watts that he was in Ohio visiting family. Vincent's alibi was backed by credit card activity in Ohio on the day of the murders, proving he was there despite being over 2,100 miles away. With no further leads, the case eventually went cold. However, when investigators revisited Vincent, they were surprised to find that he no longer seemed to be grieving, nor was he avoiding the police. He showed little concern about whether the person responsible for his wife and children's deaths was ever caught. This unusual behavior led Detective Jeff Watts to take a closer look at Vincent's alibi. Records showed that on July 2nd, Vincent had flown from Bakersfield to Columbus, Ohio, where he rented a Dodge Neon. When questioned, he claimed he only used the car within the Columbus area. However, upon reviewing the rental records, investigators found that Vincent had driven a staggering 5,424 miles. Vincent offered no answer at all for this when pressed. Detective Watts had to provide evidence, but he was quite certain that Vincent was the driver of the vehicle from Columbus to Bakersfield and back. To examine the Dodge Neon, Detective Watts took a plane to Ohio. He didn't find any proof inside the automobile because the rental company had cleaned it. At first glance, what he discovered was little, yet it would completely unravel this case. After noticing numerous bugs in the car's radiator, Detective Watts had an epiphany. Surely the insects could tell us where this car had been, he thought to himself. Detective Watts went to Dr. Lynn Kimsey, an entomologist who specialized in insects. First, Dr. Kimsey cleans off every bug fragment she finds on the radiator. A vivid red grasshopper, native to Texas and Oklahoma, was found by her. This indicated that Vincent had traveled beyond Ohio, though not all the way to Bakersfield, California. Then, investigators made a crucial discovery, a paper wasp. Named for the papery material it uses to build nests, this type of wasp is only found in California. This small detail provided the evidence police needed. However, one mystery remained. How could Vincent have been in Bakersfield while also making purchases in Ohio? Investigators soon realized that Vincent's brother had been signing documents and making transactions on his behalf. In April 2004, authorities arrested Vincent and charged him with 5 counts of murder. Moving on to the next mystery. In 1997, Carrie Ann Cummings, a 25-year-old transient from Eureka, California, was staying in a mental health facility. However, she declined further treatment. Despite her family's pleas to visit them, Carrie refused to return home, instead choosing to couch surf in Eugene, Oregon. That was the last time her family heard from her. Desperate for answers, her parents attempted to contact her, filed a missing person report with the police, and even hired a private investigator. However, Carrie's sister, Kathy, recalled being told that because Carrie was an adult who had willingly chosen her lifestyle and wasn't deemed a danger to herself or others, there was nothing authorities could do. Over the years, Kathy continued searching for her sister, facing repeated challenges in her efforts. As the internet expanded, I took to searching the Name Us website when I was missing her, scanning for mention of her tattoo, and searching through the pictures of the Jane Does she was dearly loved. In November 1998, a year after Carrie Ann went missing, Wayne Adam Ford entered a police station in Eureka, California, with a Bible in his one hand and a woman's body part in a plastic bag in the other hand. He confessed to taking the life of 4 women, but he did not know any of their names. 3 of his victims were identified. 26-year-old Tina Renee Gibbs. She was born on April 20, 1972. Her life was taken on May 16, 1998, near Las Vegas. Her body was found on June 2 near Buttonwillow, California. Lynette Dion White, 25 years old of Fontana, executed on September 25, 1998 in Ontario, California, then dumped in an irrigation canal near Lodi. Patricia and Thomas, 29 years old. Carrie's life was tragically taken in Hesperia, and her body was discovered on October 23, 1998, in a San Bernardino aqueduct. However, another female victim remained unidentified. Investigators interviewed Ford, gathering a description of the unknown woman. As part of the investigation, they searched Ford's encampment, uncovering additional body parts. Using DNA analysis, detectives matched the remains Ford had turned in with a torso found by duck hunters north of Eureka in October 1997, as well as additional remains recovered on Clam Beach in January 1998, 9 months prior, and at his encampment. Despite running DNA samples through the California Missing Persons DNA Database and the National Unidentified Persons DNA Index, no matches were found. In June 2006, 8 years after the crimes, Ford was sentenced to life in prison and is currently serving his sentence at San Quentin State Prison. This case remains unusual because, while authorities know who committed the crime, the victim's identity is still unknown. In 2021, Sheriff William Hansel established a cold case unit to revisit unsolved cases in Humboldt County. By December 2022, the unit partnered with forensic genealogy lab Othram to explore whether advanced forensic DNA testing could finally identify the unknown woman or locate a close relative. Using a technique called forensic genome sequencing, the company was able to create a profile for who they thought may be a close relative by creating a family tree. At last, they found a match to a close relative of the unknown female. The detectives contacted the relative, and she confirmed that she had a family member that went missing in the late 1990s. She then put them in contact with the sister, Kathy, of the missing person, Carrie Cummings. Kathy provided investigators with a DNA sample, which was then compared to the DNA sample from the unknown female's remains. After 25 years, authorities finally identified the missing woman in 2023. Carrie's sister, Kathy, reflected on her memory, saying, Carrie was beautiful, funny, smart, and an artist. She had a talent for making us laugh. It is devastating what mental illness can do in just 2 short years. Sheriff William Hansel commended his team's dedication, stating, we hope that this identification brings some closure to Carrie's family and the community, even though we cannot erase the pain of loss. I appreciate the commitment of our detectives, who never gave up on Carrie and continued searching for answers in these unresolved cases. The Humboldt County Coroner's Division is now in the process of releasing Carrie's remains so that her family can finally lay her to rest together. Moving on to the next mystery. In March 1998, a man from Loleta, California, and his father were boating down the Eel River searching for driftwood when they stumbled upon what appeared to be human bones near Cock Robin Island. Sheriff's deputies arrived by jet boat and confirmed the discovery of human remains. The body was partially clothed and in an advanced state of decomposition. An autopsy determined that the remains had likely been in the water for about a month, with drowning listed as a possible cause of death. Investigators described the deceased as a white male, approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing around 170 pounds, and estimated to be between 35 and 45 years old. However, his description did not match any missing persons reports from Northern California. During the investigation, the California Department of Justice managed to recover a single latent fingerprint, which was run through the automated latent print system but yielded no matches. A forensic dental examination was conducted by a local dentist, and a DNA sample was collected and entered into both the California Missing Persons DNA Database and the National Unidentified Persons DNA Index in hopes of eventually identifying the individual. The case was entered into NAMUS as well. The DNA profile was routinely searched against profiles from both missing persons and other human remains in the Combined Index System, CODIS. But, unfortunately, no profile matches were ever made. In December of 2022, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office and the California Department of Justice partnered with Othram Incorporated. With funding provided by Road to Justice, the DOJ sent Othram a DNA extract from the unknown man's remains. Once the DNA profile was built, Othram's in-house genealogy team used forensic genetic genealogy to produce investigative leads. In mid-February of 2023, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office received the Othram report indicating the DNA profile may belong to Jeffrey Todd Sido, born in 1963. The report included several genetic relatives, including a possible sister named Cheryl from Missouri. Investigators were able to contact Cheryl, who confirmed that she did have a brother named Jeffrey Todd Sido. Cheryl told investigators that for unknown reasons, Jeffrey stopped communicating with family members. The last known contact with Jeffrey Todd Sido was in the mid-1990s. Over the years, his sister, Cheryl, attempted to reach out but was unable to locate him. Since the family was uncertain whether his disappearance was intentional, Jeffrey was never officially reported as a missing person. A breakthrough came when the Department of Justice compared the recovered latent fingerprint with Jeffrey's known prints, confirming a positive match. His family then requested that his remains be released from the Humboldt County Coroner's Office so he could be laid to rest alongside other deceased family members. To bring closure to the Sido family, the Sheriff's Office expressed gratitude to Othram and the California Department of Justice DNA Lab for their dedicated efforts. Authorities are still seeking information about Jeffrey's last known whereabouts or activities. Anyone with relevant details regarding his case or other missing persons cases is encouraged to contact HCSO Cold Investigator Mike Fridley at 707-441-3024. Moving on to the next mystery. 3-year-old Karen Wurst was last seen with her mother, Doris Wurst, in Plantation, Florida, in 1974. Doris was a devoted mother who cared deeply for her young daughter. On November 7, 1974, the two were seen leaving in a 1961 red Chevy Impala. This would be the last time anyone saw them. Despite extensive searches and investigative efforts, no leads emerged, and the case eventually went cold. Sadly, in Florida, many missing persons are eventually discovered in bodies of water, a harsh reality shaped by the state's vast network of rivers, swamps, and coastlines. This geographical challenge, combined with limited resources and overburdened law enforcement agencies, often causes investigations to stall. Over the years, Karen's case remained unsolved, but her missing persons photo continued to be distributed throughout the region. Authorities also released an age-progressed image to show what she might look like at 50 years old, keeping hope alive that new information might surface. But thanks to the efforts of Sunshine Sonar, a group which conducts volunteer searches for missing person cases, it would later be uncovered that Karen never made it past age 3. Sunshine State Sonar began looking for the missing mother and child in South Florida in June of 2023. The team eventually located the 1960s Chevrolet Impala in a local canal, along with skeletal remains consistent with an adult and small child. To raise awareness for their robust volunteer effort, Sunshine State Sonar posted a video of the search mission as well as footage of the car being recovered from the water. DNA testing later confirmed the identities of mother and child, and police said next of kin have been contacted. Shockingly, and to the surprise of all involved, at 9 a.m. on August 10, 2024, in a murky body of water near Wimbledon Lake Drive, while Sunshine State Sonar was focused on conducting their search operation for the missing mother and daughter, their sonar detected a second submerged vehicle. This one sitting 22 feet down in the shadowy depths of the water. Their sonar detected a second submerged vehicle. This one sitting 22 feet down in the shadowy depths of the water. In an unexpected twist, this would begin the recovery efforts for the second vehicle that day, thus solving 2 separate missing persons cases in just 24 hours. With the Plantation Police Department on scene, divers entered the water retrieving a license plate number that linked this vehicle to a 20-year-old missing persons case, a case that had been entirely off the radar of the Broward Sheriff's Office, whose dive team soon arrived on scene confirming the presence of human remains inside the sunken vehicle. The car was found upside down, deeply embedded in silt with its windows rolled down, turning each movement that the dive team made into a painstaking recovery effort. The body was eventually discovered to be that of World War II veteran Bernie Novak. Bernie, a husband and father of 3, who had been reported missing after failing to return home in Lauderdale West community, was finally recovered after more than 2 decades underwater. He, along with his silver Buick LeSabre, disappeared in 2004. Bernie was fondly remembered for his war stories and spent his retirement years enjoying bowling and ping pong. More than 2 decades passed between his disappearance and the discovery of his remains, leaving his family in a prolonged state of uncertainty and grief. Reflecting on the search for his father, who had seemingly vanished without a trace, his son Joey recalled, "20 years ago, we were in Florida looking for the car. We held a memorial service about 5 years later, and I thought I had found closure, but deep down, I always imagined this was how it happened." Now, with answers finally in hand, Joey expressed relief that he could lay his father to rest. Joey spoke with deep admiration for Bernie, saying, "I'm very proud of him, and I learned so much from him. He lives in my mind and heart every day." He also shared plans to honor his father's memory by placing his remains alongside his mother's at the family cemetery. Moving on to the next mystery. Following the catastrophic eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980, the surrounding landscape was irrevocably changed, reduced to a barren wasteland of ash and destruction. Yet, amid the devastation, a soldier stationed in the area experienced a chilling encounter that defied all logic, an encounter with a creature later dubbed the Batsquatch. This soldier, whose identity remains undisclosed, was part of a search and rescue team assigned to comb through the ash-covered terrain, searching for survivors and evaluating the full extent of the disaster. As they navigated the desolate expanse, their senses heightened by the pungent scent of sulfur and the distant tremors of aftershocks, they stumbled upon a sight that would haunt them forever. Perched atop a jagged rock formation, silhouetted against the gray, ashen sky, stood a being unlike anything the soldier had ever witnessed. Towering over 7 feet tall, with leathery wings stretched tightly over its powerful frame, the creature radiated an unsettling aura of primal menace. Its eyes, glowing with an eerie luminescence, reflected the embers still burning deep within the volcano's core. Most unsettling of all was its grotesque hybrid form, a nightmarish fusion of bat and ape, that sent an involuntary shudder down the soldier's spine, awakening a deep, instinctive fear beyond reason. Paralyzed by the sheer presence of the beast, the soldier could do nothing but stare in silent dread as the Batsquatch unfurled its wings and ascended effortlessly into the smoke-filled sky. For an instant, time seemed to freeze, and the soldier found himself gripped by an ancient, primal terror. A terror that hinted at forces beyond human understanding and the secrets hidden deep within the earth. In the days and weeks that followed, the soldier's encounter with the Batsquatch became the subject of hushed speculation and whispered rumors among those who had witnessed Mount St. Helens' devastation firsthand. Some dismissed his account as the hallucinations of a traumatized mind, attributing the sighting to exhaustion and the mental strain of the rescue efforts. Others, however, believed he had glimpsed something far more extraordinary, a creature from the depths of myth, roused by the volcano's wrath and unleashed upon the world once more. As time went on and the eruption became a distant memory, the legend of the Batsquatch endured, serving as a haunting reminder of nature's untamed power and the mysteries lurking in its darkest corners. The enigmatic being known as the Batsquatch bears striking similarities to the Ulul, a legendary creature often described as a hybrid of a bat and the infamous Sasquatch. Both figures, deeply rooted in folklore and mystery, have long captivated those fascinated by the unknown. Reports of the Batsquatch first surfaced in the 1980s near Mount St. Helens in Washington state, drawing widespread attention and intrigue. Descriptions portray it as a towering, 9-foot-tall entity with piercing yellow eyes, vibrant blue fur, and a fearsome set of razor-sharp teeth, an awe-inspiring presence that left an unforgettable mark on those who claim to have seen it. Its menacing appearance includes a wolf-like snout, while its wings, reminiscent of those of bats, span an impressive length of 50 feet constructed from leathery membranes. The Batsquatch's imposing stature, combined with its distinctive features, instills a sense of awe and intrigue in those who encounter this mysterious beast. The notion held by certain individuals suggests that the observed sightings of Batsquatch may potentially be linked to interactions with Mothman. In the month of April in the year 1994, a notable incident occurred featuring a man identified as Brian Canfield. While navigating his truck through Pierce County, Washington, an unforeseen event transpired as Canfield encountered a sudden and total engine malfunction. This incident halted his journey abruptly, posing an unexpected challenge during his drive. Upon the descent of the Bat-Squatch as it made contact with the ground in front of a mesmerized onlooker, a chain reaction ensued, leading to the publication of numerous newspaper articles. These articles significantly elevated the profile of this strange creature, firmly establishing it as the iconic cryptid of Washington state. The sighting that has occurred recently is thought by certain individuals to have a correlation with an event that transpired several years back. This linkage has sparked a considerable amount of speculation and interest within the community. On the notable date of May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens demonstrated its immense force, resulting in a catastrophic eruption that left a lasting impact. Amid the aftermath, an extensive area stretching across 203 square miles and an additional 150 acres brimming with diverse and lively forests met its total devastation. The once thriving landscape was entirely wiped out, leaving a void where nature's beauty once flourished. In this particular area, there was an immense landslide incident, setting the benchmark as the most extensive one on record. Huge blocks of compact rock were vigorously thrust downwards along the mountainside, entirely burying the once exposed landscape. During the calamitous occurrence, a deluge of mud and ash cascaded ceaselessly from above, shrouding the radiant glow of the sun and shrouding the environment in a veil of obscurity. The severity of the disaster was heightened by the continuous echoes of thunder and bursts of lightning that echoed across the region, instilling a feeling of fear and hopelessness among the inhabitants. The relentless rumblings of thunder and the dazzling flashes of lightning added an element of dread and hopelessness to an already dire situation. During this era, a prevailing notion exists that the appearance of the mysterious entity called Bat-Squatch took place in this barren expanse, stirring curiosity and sparking numerous speculations among those fascinated by such mysteries. In the year February 2009, a further documented encounter with the mysterious Bat-Squatch occurred in the vicinity of the awe-inspiring Mount Shasta in California. During this occurrence, a cluster of avid hikers thoroughly relishing their expedition in the vicinity observed the event firsthand. Their excitement added an extra layer of enthusiasm to the experience as they immersed themselves in the beauty of the surroundings. In a state of disbelief, they witnessed a massive entity coming out of a cavern located deep within the harsh landscape of the mountain. The Bat-Squatch, a creature of colossal proportions and remarkable grandeur, elegantly ascended into the expansive heavens, eliciting astonishment from the hikers who witnessed this incredible sight. In Butler County, Pennsylvania, an intriguing and noteworthy event occurred. In a remarkable sighting, a majestic Bat-Squatch entity, towering impressively at a staggering height of 8 feet, was witnessed assuming an unusual stance, seemingly stooped down, positioned along the edge of the road. Witnesses made significant observations regarding this specific sighting, highlighting an exceptionally remarkable characteristic. The entity had a head that bore a striking resemblance to an aerodynamic helmet, showcasing a distinct shape that caught their attention. The creature known as Bat-Squatch, which has been the subject of numerous reports and sightings, is described as possessing notable physical features that set it apart. Not only does this mysterious entity exhibit muscular arms and legs that are well developed along with claw-like appendages, but it is also distinguished by its unique and striking appearance. The incident that drew significant interest occurred on April 14, 2014 at Archbishop Hoban High School in Akron, Ohio. The event sparked widespread attention and speculation within the local community and beyond due to its intriguing nature. The captivating tale of the Bat-Squatch carries deep cultural importance in the rich tapestry of Native American legends, specifically rooted in the scenic Pacific Northwest area of the United States. The native populations inhabiting this region possess deeply intertwined tales of a powerful and supernatural being reminiscent of an enormous bat, with a unique humanoid form roaming the thick woodlands and etching an enduring impression on the souls and psyches of individuals who, by chance or fate, encounter its presence. These intricate narratives, passed down through generations, vividly depict the mystical entity as a mystical guardian of the forests, revered and feared in equal measure by those who have come face to face with its mysterious aura. Throughout numerous generations, these fascinating narratives have been treasured and transmitted, standing as a testament to the lasting impact of this mysterious entity on the community's shared awareness. The stories woven around this strange being have endured the test of time, becoming a profound reflection of its enduring influence on the cultural fabric of the region. The legend of the Bat Squatch has its roots deeply intertwined in history, evolving over time, with each narration adding to the mysterious aura surrounding this fantastical being. Originating from tales passed down through generations, the Bat Squatch has captured the imagination of many with its mysterious presence. Eyewitness reports of the mythical creature known as the Bat Squatch show discrepancies in their portrayals. However, several recurring traits appear consistently across various eyewitness reports. This enigmatic creature is frequently described as a massive being, exhibiting a blend of bat-like features and a humanoid body, with enormous wings that stretch across vast distances. Accounts emphasize its imposing nature, blending supernatural and earthly characteristics to create a truly formidable presence. Many descriptions vary regarding its outer covering, whether fur or feathers, but most depict a color range from deep, dark brown to an ominous black. One of the most chilling aspects noted by witnesses is its glowing red eyes, which are said to emit an eerie, menacing light that amplifies the fear surrounding its presence. At its core, the most distinctive attribute of this mysterious entity lies in its formidable appendages, razor-sharp claws adorning both its hands and feet, capable of inflicting significant harm on anything that crosses its path. The Bat Squatch commands attention not only through its striking appearance, but also due to the destruction it could unleash upon confrontation. Witnesses claim that this cryptid emits a terrifying screech or a haunting wail, intensifying the overwhelming sense of fear and unease during an encounter. The bone-chilling cry it produces is often described as a piercing, otherworldly sound that deepens the sense of dread surrounding this elusive being. Moving on to the next mystery. Every year, over 250,000 people are reported missing, with estimates suggesting that unreported cases push that number beyond 300,000 annually. Given the sheer volume, it is unsurprising that many of these disappearances remain unresolved. However, occasionally, certain cases stand out due to their bizarre and unexplainable nature, sparking widespread speculation and online theories. Among these are the perplexing disappearances known as Missing 411, a collection of cases linked by strange and often eerie circumstances, particularly involving individuals who vanish without a trace from national parks. Some believe that many of these cases are deliberately left unexplored, hinting at a possible supernatural or paranormal cover-up in these remote, undisturbed locations. One such place is Sequoia National Park, located just south of the more famous Yosemite National Park. Known for its stunning, untouched wilderness, Sequoia's breathtaking landscapes are often overlooked in favor of its neighboring attraction. Towering granite peaks dominate the park, including Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the contiguous United States, rising to an astonishing 14,500 feet. While the park's beauty draws countless adventurers, for one family, it became the setting of an unimaginable tragedy. According to official reports, on July 13, 1971, 9-year-old David Holtz mysteriously vanished while walking with his family through Sequoia National Park. His sudden disappearance left behind a chilling mystery that continues to baffle investigators to this day. Colonel Edward Holtz, a distinguished commanding officer from the Los Angeles Armed Forces Examining and Instruction Center, embarked on a memorable camping and fishing trip with his 3 sons in this picturesque setting. Choosing the idyllic Dorst Creek Campground, a location in close proximity to the popular Kings Canyon Visitor Center, and a mere 3 miles from the awe-inspiring giant General Sherman tree, considered to be the tallest tree in the world, the Holtz family eagerly set out to establish their camp and indulge in their shared passion for fishing. Unfortunately, as the Holtz family returned from their fishing excursion in Dorst Creek, David became separated from his brother, Mike, after expressing his desire to take a different path. According to Mike, his brother, David, had been standing behind him a few feet as they talked and walked down the path following their father. Several times as they walked back to their campground together, David pleaded with Mike if they could go together to investigate other pathways and areas away from the main hiking trail. Worried for his brother's safety, Mike would tell David not to step away from the trail and to stay within sight of him as they continued back to the campground. Mike would later tell investigators that as the two brothers were close to the campground, Mike said something to David, but David didn't reply, causing Mike to turn around and realize that David was nowhere nearby. While David's father and brother safely reached the campsite, their hearts sank as they realized David was nowhere to be found. Frantic shouts echoed through the wilderness as they immediately turned back and followed the hiking trail to where they had come from while calling out to 9-year-old David. The anxious group tirelessly scoured the area where David was last seen, but their calls were met with an eerie silence. The newspapers of the time reported Colonel Edward Holtz's heart-wrenching statement that his son was mentally challenged, which further compounded the already challenging search efforts. Determined to leave no stone unturned, the National Park Service, local sheriffs, and dedicated armed forces personnel from Hamilton Air Force Base rallied together to comb through the vast expanses of Sequoia National Park in a valiant attempt to locate David. Days turned into a week as the search persisted, yielding no sign of David. However, a glimmer of hope emerged on the 8th day when a searcher, en route to the Dorst Creek campground, stumbled upon a small tackle box resting on the side of the road. The discovery sent a mix of encouragement and concern through the search party. Colonel Holtz identified the tackle box as belonging to David, intensifying the belief that it was a tangible clue in close proximity to the area he disappeared. The peculiar nature of its placement along a road traversed daily during the search seemed almost like a cryptic message, adding an air of mystery to an already perplexing ordeal. Refusing to surrender hope, search parties persisted in scouring the mountainous terrain, their determination unwavering. Curiously, the airborne searches conducted over the area failed to spot David's bright red and orange shirt, the very garment he had been wearing when he vanished. Despite their exhaustive efforts, the formal search for David Holtz was reluctantly concluded after 2 weeks of relentless pursuit. Nevertheless, Colonel Edward Holtz, driven by unwavering paternal love, could not bear to abandon the quest to find his beloved son. On July 31st, 18 days after David's disappearance, accompanied by a loyal friend, Edward Holtz ventured into an elevated region known as Colony Meadows, situated an estimated 8,000 feet above the point where David had last been seen. Amidst the pristine beauty of this lush, verdant meadow, adorned with majestic giant sequoias, a heartbreaking discovery unfolded. Edward and his companions stumbled upon David Holtz, but they were too late. Regrettably, the available records failed to provide any details regarding the condition of David and what caused him to pass away. While park officials initially attributed David's death to exposure and exhaustion, it is crucial to note that no autopsy was conducted at the time. One of the most puzzling aspects of this case is how David ended up in Colony Meadows after disappearing from Dorst Creek. If reports are accurate that his tackle box was found along the road leading to Dorst Creek Campground, completely opposite from where his body was discovered, it suggests that David, despite being only 9 years old, traveled eastward, following the creek upstream. This path would have led him directly into the search area where rescue teams were actively looking for him. Instead of retracing his steps back toward the campground or heading toward the nearby highway, David somehow ended up beneath Colony Meadows. There, he faced an almost insurmountable obstacle, a sheer, rock-faced mountainside rising between 700 and 900 feet, depending on the exact route. Even for experienced climbers, scaling such terrain would be nearly impossible, making it inconceivable that a young child could have traversed it alone. Adding to the mystery, the case file that could have provided critical insights into David's disappearance has since been inexplicably destroyed. When Sequoia National Park was petitioned under the Freedom of Information Act to release any records related to David Holtz's case, officials responded that all documents had been recently eliminated. Whether this was a routine action or part of a larger cover-up remains unknown. What is certain is that David's disappearance remains one of the many haunting missing persons cases that continue to baffle investigators and communities worldwide. Moving on to the next mystery. Elon Musk has recently sparked curiosity on social media by expressing interest in using the Large Hadron Collider. Over the past century, technological advancements have reached unprecedented heights. 100 years ago, traveling to the moon was nothing more than a distant dream. Yet today, space exploration has become an integral part of human progress. Each passing day brings us closer to claiming new frontiers within our solar system and uncovering the secrets of the universe beyond our reach. In recent years, the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, and the dedicated scientists working at CERN have made groundbreaking discoveries, pushing the boundaries of our understanding of physics. These advancements have seemingly captured the attention of Elon Musk, who recently took to social media with a simple yet intriguing request. Please let me use the CERN Large Hadron Collider. I am normal and can be trusted with a demonic technology unlike anything the world has ever seen. Although it's very likely that the comment was made as a joke, there's some who believe that we shouldn't be messing around with this type of technology. One of the biggest worries is that the Large Hadron Collider could create something that would end the world, with one example being that of a black hole. Some posted the following statement on their website: "The Large Hadron Collider will not generate black holes in the cosmological sense." However, some theories suggest that the formation of tiny quantum black holes may be possible. Observing such an event would be a groundbreaking moment in our understanding of the universe, and entirely safe. NASA addressed concerns on their website, stating, "First of all, yes, it's true that the Large Hadron Collider might create microscopic black holes. However, for the record, it could not have created one on its first day." They explained that when the LHC was first activated, physicists at CERN did not immediately initiate high-energy proton collisions. Instead, September 10th was merely a warm-up run, and at that point, no actual collisions had occurred. The formation of microscopic black holes, if possible at all, would only arise from extreme energy collisions reaching up to 14 teraelectron volts. In fact, physicists would be thrilled if the LHC produced a tiny black hole, as it would serve as the first experimental evidence supporting string theory, an elegant yet controversial theory of everything. According to string theory, electrons, photons, and all fundamental particles are simply different vibrations of infinitesimally small strings within a 10-dimensional universe, 9 spatial dimensions, and 1 of time. The reason we do not perceive these extra dimensions, some physicists argue, is that they are hidden, potentially curled up at microscopic scales. Many scientists admire string theory for its mathematical elegance and its potential to unify gravity with the other fundamental forces of nature. The widely accepted standard model of particle physics does not include gravity, which is one reason why it does not predict that the Large Hadron Collider would create a gravitational collapse point. Particle physics may not sound like the most interesting concepts, but there are some fascinating developments happening in the field as of late November 2021, which are bound to gauge the interest of even the least scientifically minded among us. Particle physics aims to gain insight into the universe by looking at the smallest units we can in order to gain an insight as to how things work on a much larger scale. However, not all particles are equal. Some are much more elusive and much trickier to study than others, making them all the more exciting. Neutrinos are some atomic particles that are fairly similar to electrons. However, they differ in 2 key ways. They have no electrical charge, and their mass is so minuscule that it could even be considered to be zero. What's most unique about neutrinos is the sheer quantity of them. We have billions of them moving through each one of us right now. They're the single most abundant particle in the universe. However, despite the huge numbers and them moving through the universe at quite literally the speed of light, it's very rare that a neutrino interacts with any sort of matter, making them incredibly difficult to detect. Due to their hard-to-prove nature but us knowing that they are there, they've earned the nickname ghost particles, though their supernatural status may be diminishing in light of a new study. The Large Hadron Collider, the most recent addition to the CERN accelerator complex, is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. It works through superconducting magnets and is based in the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Switzerland. This record-breaking machine is once again making history. The Large Hadron Collider, LHC, has successfully detected candidate neutrinos for the first time, not just within the LHC, but in any particle collider. Jonathan Fink, a physicist at the University of California, Irvine, and co-leader of the Phaser collaboration, stated, prior to this project, no sign of neutrinos has ever been seen at a particle complex. The LHC detected 6 neutrino interactions using its specialized neutrino subdetector. This breakthrough highlights the collider's immense capabilities and opens new doors for researching neutrinos at high energies. Understanding these elusive particles could help scientists uncover more about their roles, properties, and potential connections to fundamental physics. Although neutrinos have never been observed in a particle collider before now, they have been detected interacting in rare circumstances elsewhere. This latest discovery brings us one step closer to understanding these mysterious particles. What do you think of this fascinating breakthrough? Feel free to share your thoughts, questions, and theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting discoveries. Moving on to the next mystery. The mystery of the Beast of Seven Chutes began on June 1, 2005, when a man captured an eerie photograph while exploring the scenic landscape of Seven Chutes, Canada. At the time, he noticed nothing unusual, but upon reviewing the images later, he was met with a chilling discovery. Lurking among the trees was a dark, humanoid figure. Since then, the photograph has fueled intense debate among cryptid researchers and enthusiasts. Some claim the creature is a Sasquatch, while others insist it resembles a dogman. Still, others argue it bears the characteristics of a gugwe, a lesser-known cryptid said to have bear-like features and an elongated snout. The difficulty in identifying the creature stems from the lack of clear definitions and scientific classifications of such beings. With no concrete evidence to support their existence, much less to distinguish between them, the Beast of Seven Chutes remains an enigma, an unsettling mystery that continues to provoke speculation and wonder. What makes the photograph even more intriguing is the creature's appearance. It has broad shoulders, a defined sagittal crest on its head, and what appears to be a snout-like protrusion. These features are often associated with reported Sasquatch sightings, but the pronounced muzzle-like face is also consistent with descriptions of dogman encounters. Its dark, shaggy fur blends into the shadows of the dense forest, making it difficult to determine exact details. An even more bizarre element in the photograph is that the creature appears to be holding an animal, possibly a dog. Some researchers claim that the creature in the photograph is clutching a small poodle, a theory that gains traction due to an eerie coincidence. A local woman's poodle had gone missing just a day before the image was taken. If the figure is indeed holding a dog, it raises even more unsettling questions. What was this entity? Was it merely an illusion of light and shadow, or something far more tangible and terrifying? Despite the photograph's clarity, the Beast of Seven Chutes remains unexplained. Skeptics argue that the figure could be a trick of the eye, an illusion formed by shadows and tree formations, an example of pareidolia, where the brain perceives familiar shapes in randomness. However, believers insist that the details are too distinct to be dismissed so easily. Without further evidence, such as additional sightings or a forensic analysis of the image, the truth remains elusive. Yet, over the years, this chilling story has become one of Canada's most compelling cryptid mysteries. It serves as a reminder that even in the modern age, the wilderness may still harbor secrets beyond human comprehension. Whether the creature was a shadowy illusion or a genuine cryptid, the mystery of the Beast of Seven Chutes endures, leaving more questions than answers. Moving on to the next mystery. The eruptions of icy slush on Pluto are particularly fascinating because they suggest that the dwarf planet has been geologically active relatively recently. Unlike traditional volcanoes that spew molten rock, Pluto's cryovolcanoes likely release a thick, slushy mixture of water ice and other volatile compounds. Given Pluto's extreme temperatures, which can drop as low as -387 degrees Fahrenheit, -232 degrees Celsius, These eruptions would quickly freeze upon reaching the surface, forming massive domes and ridges. One of the most intriguing aspects of this discovery is the potential implications for astrobiology. The presence of cryovolcanism hints that Pluto may still retain internal heat, possibly generated by radioactive decay. This could mean that beneath its frozen crust, Pluto might harbor subsurface reservoirs of liquid water, one of the key ingredients for life as we know it. If these reservoirs exist, they could provide a stable environment where microbial life might have developed or persisted. Furthermore, Pluto's cryovolcanoes add to the growing body of evidence that icy worlds in the outer solar system may be more dynamic than previously believed. Other celestial bodies, such as Europa, Enceladus, and Titan, have also shown signs of geological activity that could support life. The study of Pluto's ice volcanoes offers scientists a valuable comparison point in understanding how cryovolcanism works across different environments. As technology advances and new missions are planned to explore the Kuiper Belt, Pluto may continue to surprise us with more hidden secrets waiting to be uncovered. This discovery raises fascinating questions about Pluto's geological activity and its potential for sustaining liquid water beneath its icy crust. Unlike Earth's volcanic eruptions, which produce molten rock, Pluto's cryovolcanoes release a slushy mixture of water ice, ammonia, and methane. The frigid temperatures cause this material to solidify rapidly, forming the massive domes observed in the New Horizons images. What makes this finding even more intriguing is the possibility that Pluto may still have internal heat sources. If cryovolcanic activity has occurred relatively recently, it suggests that subsurface reservoirs of liquid water might exist. Scientists speculate that heat generated from radioactive decay could keep pockets of water from freezing entirely. This opens up the question of whether these reservoirs could provide conditions suitable for microbial life, similar to what is theorized for icy moons like Europa and Enceladus. Additionally, the unique formations on Pluto's surface challenge previous assumptions that the dwarf planet is geologically inactive. Instead, it appears to have undergone significant resurfacing events, indicating that its interior may still be evolving. As missions to the outer solar system progress, further exploration of Pluto and similar icy bodies could provide deeper insights into the complex processes shaping these distant worlds. Moving on to the next mystery. In December 2021, a shoe containing a human foot was discovered near the mouth of the Elwha River in Port Angeles, Washington. A passerby made the unsettling find and promptly reported it to the Clallam County Sheriff's Office. After launching a search and rescue effort in the area, investigators located the shoe several hours later. The label on the shoe identified it as a woman's size 8 New Balance sneaker. However, due to the limited remains recovered, authorities were unable to determine the woman's age, ethnicity, height, weight, hair color, or eye color. Following the discovery, detectives pursued multiple leads in an effort to identify the woman, but her identity remained unknown. Eventually, with no further leads, the case went cold. In 2022, the Clallam County Sheriff's Office partnered with Othram to explore whether advanced forensic DNA testing could help uncover the woman's identity or link her to a relative. Othram developed a detailed genealogical profile, which was analyzed by their internal genealogy team. The investigative leads they generated were then shared with law enforcement for further follow-up. After receiving information from Othram, the Clallam County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Bureau reached out to a surviving family member who willingly provided a DNA sample for comparison. The sample was sent to Othram Labs, where testing confirmed that the foot belonged to a missing woman from Sequim, Washington. Geraldine L. Smith had been reported missing on January 7, 2018. At the time of her disappearance, she was 68 years old. Geraldine's surviving family members expressed their gratitude to Othram Labs, the Clallam County Sheriff's Office, and the public for their generous support in funding Othram's forensic DNA research. The Clallam County Sheriff's Office urges anyone with additional information to contact their tip line at 360-417-2540 and reference case number 2010-002-3819. Moving on to the next mystery. 70-year-old Jean A. Johnson was last seen on May 27, 2019, at 5:30 p.m. in Capitan, New Mexico. That afternoon, she was at her home on Tai Road, looking after a friend's dog while they were away. At some point during the day, Jean sent her daughter, Heidi, a message along with a photo of herself and the dog. This would be the last known communication anyone had with her. The following day, Jean didn't reach out to Heidi, which was unusual since they typically spoke multiple times a day. She also never returned the dog to its owner as planned. Growing increasingly concerned, Heidi decided to check on her mother after another day passed with no contact. Upon arriving at Jean's home, she discovered the driveway gate locked, with Jean's car parked inside, also locked. Heidi noticed her mother's handbag and phone inside the car. As she approached the house, she saw that the front door was slightly ajar. Upon entering, everything appeared undisturbed, and there was no sign of Jean. However, her friend's dog was still inside, having had several accidents from not being let outside. Heidi recalls, everything looks normal except the dog she was watching had some accidents. She would never have just left him there long enough for that to happen. My mother was very clean and kept things clean. And also, she just loved that dog. Strangely, Jean's handgun, a .357 pistol, was the only thing missing from the house. Jean, who lived in a remote area where mountain lions were known to roam, kept a gun for protection against intruders and wildlife. Initially, the missing gun led authorities to consider the possibility of suicide. However, 2 months after her disappearance, an unidentified individual turned the gun into the police, which led investigators to rule out that theory. A thorough search of Jean's 10-acre property was conducted, using a helicopter, drones, and search dogs, but no evidence was found. According to Heidi, while Jean was sometimes forgetful, she had no history of wandering off. She was also not known to have any enemies. She lived a simple and quiet life where she enjoyed working in her garden and spending time with her family and friends. She lived alone and had not entered a relationship since her husband's death in 2012. Heidi recalled she'd met someone, but then would say, "He's not your father," adding, they were so in love. Jean always wore a pendant around her neck which contained her late husband's ashes. Lincoln County Sheriff Robert Shepard told NBC that Jean's disappearance is a pretty difficult case. He later noted, "This isn't a typical investigation for us. When it's a missing person, by this time, they're either found somewhere at a family member's house or maybe in a hospital somewhere." Heidi grew so concerned by the lack of answers in her mother's case that she contacted psychics who told her, "She's buried not too far off the road, but we have no idea where." Heidi makes regular searches for her mother using horses and ATVs to help cover more ground, but still there has been no trace of the 70-year-old. 5 months after her disappearance, investigators stated that they were still pursuing evidence, and that while they have no physical evidence which indicated that Jean was harmed or taken, they suspect that something criminal occurred. At one point, they also noted that they were organizing search warrants, but it's unclear what or who they were investigating and what the outcome of their inquiry was. There has been virtually no movement in the case since 2019. 70-year-old Jean A. Jean Johnson was last seen in Capitan, New Mexico, on May 27, 2019. She is described as a white woman with graying brown hair and green eyes. She stood 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighed approximately 130 pounds at the time she went missing. Jean had a mastectomy on her left breast, a previously fractured big toe, and pierced ears. While her clothing at the time of her disappearance is unknown, she was always known to wear her silver wedding band with 3 diamonds and a clear glass pendant containing her late husband's ashes. If you have any information regarding Jean's disappearance, please contact the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office at 575-648-2341. Moving on to the next mystery. Gabriel Nagy, a devoted father and esteemed family member, lived a fulfilling life in Sydney, Australia, alongside his wife, Pamela, and their children, Stephen and Jennifer. Having immigrated to Australia as a young boy, he maintained a deep bond with both his family and community. Gabriel worked as a shop fitter, helping businesses design and construct retail spaces throughout the city. Although his life appeared stable and content, an unexpected turn of events began to unravel his family, ultimately leading to a heartbreaking outcome. With ambitions of becoming an accountant, Gabriel was actively pursuing courses to achieve his dream. On January 21, 1987, He went into the city to run some errands and phoned his wife, Pamela, to let her know he would be home for lunch. Pamela prepared a meal and waited for his return, but Gabriel never showed up. As she grew increasingly anxious, a phone call came that would forever change her life in Sydney. Surely, someone had to know what happened to Gabriel after the car accident. Unfortunately, no one knew. 2 weeks after Gabriel disappeared, the police determined that he withdrew money from a bank in the city of Newcastle. Newcastle is about 100 miles away from Sydney. His family was hopeful about the new lead and believed this would help them find Gabriel. The lead turned into a dead end, however, and the case went cold for 2 more decades. There was a senior constable by the name of Georgia Robinson. She promised herself that she would solve this case. In her last attempt at finding Gabriel, she did just that in 2012. She looked through some files when she came across something interesting. The Medicare system in Australia showed documents that a person named Gabriel Nagy recently underwent eye surgery. The records also showed that the man went by another name, Ron Saunders. Constable Robinson called this man. He told her that the last 2 decades of his life was fuzzy to say the least. He spent most of his time homeless, just wandering from city to city. That was until a pastor by the name of Barry Hayo came across Gabriel. The pastor gave Gabriel a job at the church as a caretaker. Gabriel got the name Ron Saunders from a sign for the Queensland Saunders Beach while he was wandering around. His memories slowly came back, so when he got the eye surgery, he gave the name of Gabriel Nagy as well. Robinson flew to where Gabriel was currently living and showed him pictures of his family. Gradually, more of Gabriel's memory began to return. The car accident he had been involved in left him with a severe head injury, causing him to enter a fugue state that erased all recollection of his past life. To him, the situation felt surreal, and even though fragments of his memory resurfaced, he still couldn't fully remember his family. Although he promised to stay in touch, Gabriel couldn't bring himself to move back in with them. This is a photograph of Pamela and their daughter, Jennifer, holding the photo album they shared with Gabriel. And here is an image capturing the emotional moment when Gabriel and Jennifer reunited for the first time in 2012. Moving on to the next mystery. Josephine Backshaw, a devout and trusting housewife in search of employment, placed an advertisement in the local newspaper stating, "Anything considered." A 39-year-old wife and mother of 3, she believed she had found an opportunity to model cosmetics when a man named Peter responded to her ad. Over the phone, Peter arranged to meet her and even photographed her on the front lawn of her home. Despite having little reason to trust him, Josephine reassured her husband that Peter was of a good sort. She later arranged to meet him to discuss the job further. The two went to the Fountain Public House in Good Easter at the late hour of 10:30 p.m. 3 days later, on November 1st, Josephine was found murdered, her hands bound and her neck strangled. Surprisingly, there were no visible signs of sexual assault, though some acts leave no physical evidence. Her fully clothed body was discovered submerged in a pond on Berry Green Lane in North Bishop Stortford. The only person who remembered seeing them together was the owner of the pub, who found Josephine's male companion suspicious. He recalled that the man was unusually tall, so much so that his head nearly touched the hanging beer growlers. An autopsy later revealed that Josephine's last meal was Chinese food, though its origin remained unknown. Her watch had stopped at 8:15 p.m., but the exact date this occurred was unclear. An arrest was made in 2014, but the suspect was released on bail and has never been questioned again. Despite police appeals for public assistance, no credible leads have emerged. Moving on to the next mystery. In 2007, Jodine Sarin lived in San Diego, California. Though she was mentally disabled, she was highly independent and had a strong passion for helping others. She volunteered at her church, the San Diego Humane Society, and was actively involved with the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. Jodine had a deep love for animals and enjoyed outdoor activities such as biking, kayaking, and walking along the beach. She lived alone in a ground-level condo in Carlsbad, California, which her parents had purchased for her. On Valentine's Day in 2007, Jodine's parents stopped by to check on her. But when they arrived, they discovered that something was terribly wrong. Inside the condo, they found an unfamiliar man. They told him to leave. When they entered Jardine's room, they found that she had been assaulted and strangled. Despite seeing the attacker's face, the case would take over a decade to be solved. In 2018, investigators decided to contact a company that you might have heard of, Paranormal Nanolabs. The company specializes in something called DNA phenotyping. This is a process of using unidentified DNA evidence left behind at a crime scene to predict someone's physical appearance and ancestry. It is used by law enforcement to generate leads in criminal investigations, narrow suspect lists, and identify unknown remains. Paranormal Nanolabs created this image to show what the attacker may have looked like back in 2007. They also made use of genetic genealogy. This is a process where they use DNA evidence found in the crime scene to create the family tree of the suspect. It finally led investigators to David Mabrito. The man was identified as a transient who took his own life in 2011. Investigators were able to track him down after his relatives submitted their DNA to a public database, which led to a match. The Oceanside Police Department in California also played a crucial role, as they had previously collected a sample of his DNA during a traffic stop. This sample was later compared to DNA found at the crime scene, confirming that he was responsible for taking Joe Dean Sarin's life. In a heartfelt statement, Joe Dean's family shared, "There was joy in her laughter, love in her heart, and faith in her soul." They also expressed their deep gratitude to the Carlsbad Police Department for their relentless efforts in seeking justice. Moving on to the next mystery. Adam Brundage, a 26-year-old father of two from Quakertown, inherited a substantial sum after his father's sudden passing. Using the money, he purchased a home, which he shared with his roommate, Damon Smoot. The two had only lived there for a few months before Adam mysteriously vanished. In October 2004, Adam's mother and ex-girlfriend grew worried when he stopped returning their calls and was officially reported missing. What raised further suspicion was that Damon continued living in Adam's house alone and was frequently seen driving his most valuable possession, a 1997 Mercury Cougar. When questioned, Damon claimed Adam had given him everything before leaving. However, each time police or others inquired about Adam's whereabouts, Damon's story changed. At one point, he insisted Adam had moved to Iowa to escape unpaid child support. Then he said that Adam had fled to Wisconsin in order to avoid an arrest warrant. After that, the plot would alter a few more times. Damon did not decide to notify the police what had transpired until this year, in 2020. He consented to enter a guilty plea on January 9th and gave the police full information. He confessed to them his envy of Adam and everything he owned. Adam called Damon on October 4th, 2004, requesting supplies. There was a repair he needed to do in the house. After telling Adam to meet him at work, Damon and Adam got into a heated altercation. After getting a baseball bat out of his car, Damon gave Adam a headlock. Adam lost consciousness and began convulsing. Damon smothered Adam by covering his mouth and nose until he stopped breathing. He later led authorities to Adam's burial site, a location they admitted they would never have found without his confession. Recovering Adam's remains took nearly a full day. At the time of his confession, Damon was already serving a 10-year prison sentence for an unrelated crime. Damon will be eligible for release at the age of 62. From the start, Adam's mother, Donna Brundage, suspected Damon's involvement, as he had taken over Adam's life, living in his home and driving his car as if they were his own. District Attorney Matthew Weintraub expressed relief that Adam's remains were finally returned to his family for a proper burial. However, for 15 years, Adam had neither a funeral nor a grave marker to honor his memory. Moving on to the next mystery. Amy Billig, a spirited and creative 17-year-old, had a deep love for reading, writing poetry, playing the flute and guitar, and passionately advocating for animal rights. She was well-liked and widely known, making her sudden disappearance from Miami, Florida, in 1974 all the more shocking and heartbreaking. On Tuesday, March 5, 1974, Amy planned to meet up with friends, but needed some money first. She set off through the main highway in her Coconut Grove neighborhood, intending to catch a ride to her father's art gallery, where she hoped to borrow a small sum. Despite the risks we recognize today, Amy felt secure in her community and had often hitchhiked short distances. Though she could have walked to the gallery, she had taken similar rides before and saw no reason to fear this one would be any different. Tragically, however, this time was unlike the others. Amy never arrived at her father, Ned Billig's, office. She also failed to show up for the later that day meeting with her friends. Amy had not been seen and had not been contacted by anyone. Authorities were promptly notified by her parents, and the situation of the missing youngster was investigated. The Billig family was contacted early on in the original investigation by someone they believed to be Amy's kidnapper. The offender demanded $30,000 over the phone in exchange for the 17-year-old's safe return. However, the caller turned out to be two 16-year-old boys, Charles and Larry Glasser, who were identified by the authorities. They were shady characters with no connection to the case and no knowledge of Amy's location. Regretfully, they squandered valuable time and funds that could have been used more effectively. In the end, they were accused of extortion. Amy's mother, Susan Billig, carried out her own comprehensive investigation, following up on leads and tips wherever she could, while the police kept searching for clues. Her investigation took her across the nation. In an effort to find her lost daughter, she even crossed the Atlantic to visit the United Kingdom. One of the tips that Susan and the police got was that Amy had been kidnapped by one of the two biker gangs who were passing through the area at the time. One group was referred to as the Pagans, and the other as the Outlaws. Both gangs are mentioned in sources relevant to Amy's case. While Pagans received most of the attention, both were dangerous, trafficking in weapons, drugs, and prostitutes. Susan seized the opportunity to pursue this possible lead and frantically looked for her child. A family acquaintance who had assisted the Pagans with some legal work was able to arrange a meeting for Susan, Ned, and two group members. During this meeting, the couple discovered that although these specific members had not seen their daughter, it was common for gang members to purchase, trade, and exchange young ladies who had been abducted for cash or material items like brand new bikes. The members promised the Billings that they would investigate Amy's disappearance by speaking with people who knew her, but they were never able to locate any further details. If they did, they never disclosed it to the family. Susan located the bikers in Orlando, Florida, 3 months after they vanished. Here, a manager at a convenience store said he identified Amy as a girl who had been with the group. She had visited the store multiple times to purchase vegetable soup because she was a vegetarian, and she was last spotted with at least 2 gang members. Sadly, this had no positive outcome, although offering the family and the police some hope. Not until January 1976, a year and a half later, when a man named Dave called Susan and confessed that he used to, quote, own her daughter, were any new leads pursued. Though he had accepted to have a conversation at his home, he appeared anxious when the mother arrived, as though she had been followed. He recognized this as the girl he once owned when he looked at Amy's picture. He saw her scar from the appendectomy, which had not been disclosed to the public at the time, and characterized her as being incredibly quiet, almost like a mute. Dave consented to investigate Amy's location, and a few weeks later, he and Susan went to Oklahoma, the state where the adolescent was allegedly being detained. When they got to the tavern in June, where Amy was intended to be handed to the couple, a fight broke out and injured Dave. Several more motorcycles picked Susan up and took her somewhere safe. Although Dave eventually informed her lawyer that Amy was probably in Seattle, she never saw him again. Susan, who had just suffered a heart attack, went to Seattle in November of 1977. She made multiple witnesses swear they had seen Amy by going around showing the picture of her daughter to patrons and staff in bars, clubs, tattoo parlors, and motorcycle stores. Again and again, people compared her to a mute. A few years later, in the winter of 1979, Susan received a call from an unidentified male who said that Amy was in need of assistance and was at a truck stop outside of Reno, Nevada. The FBI was able to verify that the biker gang traveled through that area, but they were unable to verify if the young lady was among them. Only a single piece of evidence was found during the whole investigation. Amy's camera was on Florida's Turnpike, a toll road, at the Wildwood exit. It was discovered soon after the adolescent vanished and turned in by a man who had learned of her disappearance. The biker gang's route would have passed this exit as they headed north. Amy may or may not have had the camera on her when she vanished. It might have been misplaced earlier. Unfortunately, nothing significant was found on the camera. The majority of the processed images were overexposed, and one image only featured a white van, providing investigators with no further information. Paul Branch, a pagan, came forward in the late 1970s to inform Susan that Amy was his girlfriend and that he had lived with her for a while after buying her in Orlando. A year later, he claimed to have been arrested and had left Amy with his housemates. However, upon his release from prison, he discovered that they had both vanished, along with his motorcycle. Branch also told Susan at one point that her daughter was still alive and being held captive by other gang members. But Branch's wife said, following his death in the 1990s, that he had changed his mind on his deathbed and told her that Amy had gone to a pagan celebration the night before she vanished. She was allegedly raped after becoming ungracious and mouthy, but she fought back. She was so forced to take medications till her heart failed. It has been stated that her body was disposed of in the Florida Everglades. At first, this horrific narrative might appear plausible. However, it was eventually discovered that the widow had accepted payment from a documentary crew in exchange for telling her story. The crew filmed Susan and the widow getting to know one another. Because money was involved, the claim's veracity was called into question. The story is not believed by many police investigators or internet sleuths. It appears likely that the widow made this up in order to benefit financially and gain attention. Having said that, investigators were able to verify certain aspects about the party, but not the details of the young woman's destiny. We're still not done talking about the darkest and cruelest aspects that the family may have encountered while doing their research, in spite of all the confusion and red herrings. Amy's parents started getting odd, unsettling phone calls from an unidentified male caller soon after she vanished. He said that Amy was being held captive after being kidnapped by members of an illegal sex ring. He went into great detail about what was happening to her. The family endured 21 years of harassment from the caller before the FBI identified a man who used a mobile phone as the source of one of the calls in 1995. The caller had been using pay phones up until that moment, which had made it challenging to track him down and capture him. It was discovered that Henry Johnson Blair, a U.S. Customs Department employee, was the deranged person who had been bringing the family grief for more than 20 years. His weak defense for the severe suffering he inflicted on the family, which he produced by his upsetting remarks, was that he was an alcoholic and suffered from OCD. Blair asserted that he didn't know Amy personally and didn't know anything about her disappearance. This claim was called into doubt, though, when law enforcement discovered specifics about a man who was mentioned in the teenager's journal. Amy wrote about Hank, a man who had offered her to travel to South America with him, and with whom she was thinking of running away. Blair was reportedly known by the moniker Hank and had to move to South America for work. In addition, he had a vehicle that was identical to the one seen in the images taken from Amy's camera in terms of both color and model. Even with these strange coincidences, Blair's case was never proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Blair ultimately served just 2 years in prison for his 2 decades of harassment of the family. Susan also reached a $5,000,000 settlement in her lawsuit against him. The Billig family's hopes were restored in 1992 when Susan received a call from a private investigator working on Amy's case. The investigator, a British national, said that he had been approached by an American biker who was trying to sell a young woman while he was in Falmouth, England. She was characterized as mute and was also American. Nevertheless, he failed to provide a photo, and the British investigator died a year later, making the lead useless. There are relatively few new leads and theories in Amy's case. The majority of internet detectives fall into one of 2 categories. Either Henry Johnson Blair is hiding something, or the biker gang knows something and is keeping it quiet. Many contend that it is improbable that so many individuals would be aware of the adolescent's fate and that no one would come forward. Some, however, believe the motorcyclists were just having fun while tormenting a bereaved family. However, some others think Blair was just a deranged person who enjoyed inflicting pain on Amy's family and had nothing to do with the case. Some believe there is too much compelling evidence to dismiss the possible connection between Amy's disappearance, the van she was seen photographing, and her journal. However, her parents would never see justice served for their missing daughter. Ned Billig passed away in the early 1990s after battling lung cancer, while Susan lived until the age of 80, passing away in 2005. Before her death, she co-authored a book titled Without a Trace, The Disappearance of Amy Billig, A Mother's Search for Justice, chronicling her relentless pursuit of answers. Amy's case also received national attention through features on America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. Tragically, her disappearance remains unsolved. If alive today, Amy would be 63 years old. During her time with the biker gang, she may have been known by various aliases, including Mellow Cheryl, Sunshine, Mute, and Little Pieces. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring these intriguing unsolved mysteries with me. If you found the video fascinating, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Unsolved Mystique for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Your support helps me bring you more compelling content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or any mysteries you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.